Hey, Steve Mignani here. This is episode number 56 of the Steve Maggs Muscle Car Show podcast. And I'm here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with High Octane Classics General Manager Nick Tapp.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, we're sitting in a 1970 Dodge Challenger convertible, one of like a handful made in 70. Of course, Challenger convertibles are only built in 70 and 71 before they went coupe only for 72 through 74. So it's a special car.
It is. Fully numbers matching too, which is nice.
Yeah,
Very
right
cool.
on. Yeah, 383 car, good stuff.
Yep.
Okay, what we're going to do, as you all know, this is my book. This is 2013, Steve Mignani's 1001 Muscle Car Facts. And so far we've read all the GM, all of the Ford, and now we're into the final chunk of the Dodge chapter. And this is going to be fact 791 through fact, I guess, 790 or thereabouts, 800. But with that said, this is number crunching and press commentary. So let's get started here. So here we go. Okay, fact 791. This is the warning that came with every 1977 Dodge Monaco Police Pursuit, of which 4,963 were built. Quote, Chrysler Corporation recommends that only police-type tires certified for high-speed use by the tire manufacturer and approved for handling by the car manufacturer be used on vehicles that may be driven at speeds over 100 miles per hour. Sustained speeds over 100 miles per hour may cause a standard steel-belted radial tire to disintegrate suddenly without prior warning, which could result in loss of vehicle control. End quote. And keep in mind, the police pursuits were specific vehicles built by Dodge and Plymouth also as well, and Chrysler earlier, for use by police departments. And here at High Octane, you guys have much in the way of police vehicles come through?
Not very many. We have a couple. I've actually had a couple Crown Vics come through that are actually pretty cool and stuff like that. Even a couple old Dodge Monacos we've had. I'd be curious how long it takes a 77 Dodge Monaco to get to 100 miles an hour, Steve.
Well, I got to say, when they had the 440, the Blues Brothers, in fact, that movie, I believe they used a 75 or 76 Monaco. Yep. So, I mean, they had their place. And yes, the 70s, 1977 in particular, would have had a catalytic converter, and they wouldn't have been that fast. But for what they were pretty quick. But keep in mind, over 100 miles per hour sustained, that's going to be a highway chase or something.
Absolutely.
So interesting stuff. And one thing I will say today, I currently own a 1962 Dodge Dart Police Pursuit model. And my thing is, when I rebuild that car, there is no source for accurate reproduction high-speed police belted tires. And believe me, there is a thing. So it's kind of a weird thing.
That's cool. Very cool.
If you collect or restore police cars, getting tires for them is kind of a difficult thing. So hint, hint, Coker tire. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on. 792, fact 792. Here we go. Dodge Challenger facts. Of the 83,032 Challengers built in 1970, and we're sitting in one right now, roughly 1 in 5, or 14,889, were muscular RTs. Of those 14,889 Challenger RTs made, 3,052 carried the U-code 444 barrel, 2,035 carried the V-code 446 pack, and just 356 got the mighty 426 Street Hemi. One of the 444 barrel cars was tested in the February 1970 issue of Auto Driver magazine, which had this to say, quote, the test car was a vibrant, almost fire engine red with a white vinyl top and matching white stripe over the rear end just forward of the bumper. Add to that hood tie-down pins and a scoop looking for all the world like the flattened nostrils of some mean animal, and you could almost feel the cops picking up speed to nab you, end quote. Interestingly, the 4-speed test cars, optional 15x7 rally wheels, were fitted with center caps but no trim rings.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, 1970. Of course, one thing is Auto Driver magazine was kind of like Car Life or Motor Trend, but long gone. Auto Drivers are gone. But one of my favorite things is old car magazines, because you can sometimes find tests and pictures of cars that, wow, I didn't know that. Just weird stuff. So,
absolutely. Love E-body big blocks. They're awesome cars, and they look amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we're in right here. This is a 383 car, but it's not an RT. And keep in mind, you could get the 383 in a non-RT, but no 440s, no six-pack, no Hemis, till you get into the RT world. But, okay, moving on. Fact 793, and more from Auto Driver magazine. Auto Driver magazine clocked out a 1969 Super Bee in its June 1969 issue, with a special emphasis on whether or not female drivers could manage it easily. One of 27,846 Super Bs built in 1969, the test car featured the base 335 horsepower 383 Magnum, a column-shifted torque-flight automatic, and front bench seat with no console. The key element that made it useful to a female test driver named Chris Laidlaw was the power steering, a $100 option. She said, quote, "The steering was easy. The wheel turned with no great amount of effort once the power steering was on. At one point, I tried to turn the wheel with the key off, but soon gave that up," end quote. Chris Laidlaw's test car was a Pillar Coupe, one of 8,202 built, with the optional M46 simulated side scoops affixed to the quarter panels, adding $35.80 to the window sticker. So it's interesting. That speaks to the fact that power steering pumps only function when the engine's running.
Absolutely.
So no doubt when she turned the engine off, it was like manual steering time.
And I think it's an option we all enjoy nowadays.
Yeah, power steering on any big block, anything. A lot of iron over the wheels, especially with wide tires up front. Yeah, you're gonna get a workout. So, okay, moving on to fact number 794. Let's get into the 1980s with a little bit of Dodge Daytona information. We're not talking wing car here, we're talking front driver.
Yep.
But they're muscle cars too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so a quote. Here we go. Normally, we would just normally we would just gather one up and test it until it cried for mercy. But in the case of the Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, we couldn't exactly do that because the cars don't go on sale until this fall. And Chrysler balked at letting us do a full test on the only pre-production unit the company had at the time. We heard the word irreplaceable used a lot, end quote. Still, in the July 1983 issue of Motor Trend magazine, testers exclaimed, quote, "The Daytona Turbo Z is the best handling front-wheel drive production car we have ever tested," end quote. Now keep in mind, this is 1983, a year after Chrysler went all front drive with a handful of rear-wheel drive diplomats and stuff like that. So, here at High Octane Classics, do you guys find much in the way of people coming in looking for front drive, like Omni GLHs, stuff like that?
Very, very rare. Very rare. People like, big blocks, fast, 4 speeds and a lot of things, but they really want that rear drive.
Yeah.
They want to be able to hit the throttle and feel the car twist, and that's really what emulates a muscle car, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to what the Daytonas felt like if they were rear-wheel drive, in fact, instead of front-wheel drive.
That's a good point. Direct Connection, back in the day, they sold a rear-wheel drive conversion kit for the front-wheel drive cars. It was meant for bracket racing and stuff. But with that said, I was like 20 years old in 1984. I'm, not a young kid. But with that said, I remember waiting and hoping that rear-wheel drive would return to Chrysler, because front-wheel drive to me was wrong-wheel drive. And of course now the Challengers and the Chargers. Who would have dreamt we have this stuff happening?
You can walk in and buy an 800 horsepower Challenger. It's pretty crazy in 2021, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's move along to fact 795. Let's go back in time to the 1960s, the muscle car 60s. 1968 Dart GTS buyers had a number of exciting options to choose from, working up from the $3,163 base price. An extra $114.70 got you power front disc brakes instead of the drums. $80.35 delivered power steering, and $21.30 included some of the most convincing and heavy fake mag wheel covers of the year. But the best deal by far was the measly $29 cost of the 383 big block upgrade. Though the peppy 275 horsepower 340 small block was standard, stepping up to the 383 was a cheap way to gain an extra 80 foot-pounds of tire smoking torque. Of the 10,849 Dart GTSs built in 1968, 8,293 were hardtops and just 452 were convertibles. About 1 in 5 customers preferred the burly 383 big block, with 2,104 sold. Big block Dart customers proved to be a rugged bunch, since almost half, 991, opted for the A833 4-speed manual transmission. With the simple addition of some 7-inch drag slicks to offset the big block's extra 90 pounds of nose weight, a properly tuned 383 Dart GTS will beat a 340 Dart GTS by about a car length and a quarter mile. I repeat, Slicks are essential for this result.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That big block's definitely heavier than a small block 340.
Yeah, big blocks are where it's at. And it's amazing to think, really, that $29 is all you paid to get the 383 in a Dodge.
I spent more on lunch yesterday.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's funny, between a 340 Dart GTS and a 383 Dart GTS, I would imagine it's probably a $5,000 to $10,000 price difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the big block stuff's hot. And of course, the 440 Darts, which we'll get to in a little while, that was a whole different thing in 1969, the 440 stuff, as if a 383 wasn't big enough. Okay, it's more big block Dart stuff with fact 796. 1968 was also the year of the Hemi Dart. It's known that each of the 80 Hemi Darts rolled off the Hamtramck, Michigan line as partially assembled 383 GTSs models before shipment to Hearst for the Hemi conversion. But can we include these cars in the total Dart GTS production tally of 10,849? The answer is no. The Hemi-destined Darts were assigned specific VIN codes that read LO23M. So they were not to be included with 383 Darts production. Now here's the thing. The telling characters that set them apart from the GTS are the O for a superstock vehicle in the second spot, and the M in the fifth spot for special order engine. By contrast, a 383 Dart GTS VIN sequence reads LM23H or LM27H for a convertible. Thus, Hemi Dart production figures stand apart from 383 GTS totals.
I can totally see that making sense in that line of things. Absolutely.
Yeah, so numbers are funny. A lot of folks say, well, there's only so many cars, but often it seems like you can group one with the next, but when the VIN is specific, they don't really go together. So, all right, let's move along to fact 797 and more Hemi Dart lore. Okay, the 1968 Hearst Hemi Darts were not inexpensive cars. The window sticker carried a base price of $5,146, enough to buy two slant six Dart sedans at $2,323 a piece. In fact, the same money could have bought a loaded 1968 Hemi Charger with a couple $100 left over from mag, wheels, and slicks. A lot of folks think, well, it's a Dodge Dart, it's got to be cheap. Put a Hemi in it, can't be that much more. But yeah, $5,100 is what you paid for a Hemi Dart. Nowadays, you're going to pay at least $200,000-$300,000 for one. Yeah, and one of the bummers on those cars, I mean, they were weapons more than they were cars, and for the most part, they didn't stay stock for long at all. And 1972 was the year that the NHRA allowed radical modifications to rear suspension, tubbing. Before that, the superstock class, you had to have the factory type leaf springs, but when they got into the four-link stuff in 1974-5-6, most of those Hemi Darts were sliced, diced, chopped, and modified radically. And a lot of folks today are undoing the tubbing and the leaf link stuff to bring them back to stock.
We see a lot of that almost on a daily basis with all those cars, and sometimes they're just too far gone and people just want to bring them back so bad. I mean, I still think I'd rather have a 68 Hemi Charger in my garage than the Dart, but to each their own.
Interesting. Okay, I'm with you on that. When I had a 68 Hemi Charger back in the mid-'80s, an automatic car, and it was a neat car. It ran 1320s, left and drive. It was a good, strong car.
Nice,
but I know what you mean. The Hemi Darts were pretty raw cars. I mean, the side windows went up and down with a strap. They didn't even have a winder. They were pretty austere. Okay, let's move along to fact 798. The special, this is wing car stuff, 1969, so kind of cool. The special body modifications applied to the 1969 Charger 500 and Charger Daytona NASCAR homologation specials were extreme enough to warrant a specific body code in the VIN. A normal 1969 Charger RT VIN, regardless of the engine, begins with XS29. By contrast, the aero-enhanced Charger 500 and Charger Daytona VINs begin with XX29. Non-Charger, powered by slant 6s, 318s, 383s, those VINs begin with XP29. Oddly, the equally unique 1970 Plymouth Superbird VIN RM23 does not differ from that of a standard Roadrunner hardtop. Superbird verification is found on the fender tag, where code A13 confirms wing car status. Have you guys ever had a Charger Daytona here at High Octane Classics?
We have not, and I actually did not know the difference. I knew the RM23, and you couldn't tell the difference on a Superbird, and that's, what did that. But I did not know that on the Daytonas, and that's actually a cool fact to know. Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. XX29, if you see that, you're looking at a wing car. And a lot of times, I mean, it's crazy to think this, but in the early 1970s, high performance suddenly became kind of a dirty word. Yeah. And in many cases, Plymouth dealerships in particular, where they had over 2,000 wing cars to sell, they actually actually de-winged them, took the noses off in a couple of instances. So if you find yourself a 70 Roadrunner and it has a weird A13 code on the fender tag and some holes in the trunk that have been filled over, that might be a wing car.
That's pretty cool. And I bet there's still a couple of those out there, absolutely.
Yeah, lurking to be found. Check your garage. All right, so let's move along now to fact number 799. Except for the book you're holding, I try my best, be wary of believing everything you read. In the 80-page Motor Trend, New Cars 1972, a one-shot annual publication offered on the newsstand and mailed as a perk to Motor Trend subscribers, the editors made major mistakes with these forecasts on the 1972 Challenger. Quote, it is interesting to note that the Challenger still has the convertible, one of the few series lines that continue to carry this model, end quote. Another flub contains this, quote, the 383 cubic inch engine has been dropped and it's been replaced by a 400 cubic inch V8, end quote. To set the record straight, after tumbling nearly 50% from 4,243 built to 2,165 built in 1970 versus 71, convertible Challengers were discontinued for the 1972 model year and beyond. And beyond that, a 90,000 cylinder overbore to 4.34 inches grew the 383 big block to 400 cubes for 1972. But the Challenger was restricted to slant 6 or 318, 340 small block power from 1972 onward, with a 360 replacing the 340 in 1974. So here we are sitting in a 1970 Challenger, but 72 Challenger convertibles didn't exist.
Right, and we actually do have a 72 Challenger outside with 340 in it. That is a very nice car.
Right on. Yeah. It's funny, the big blocks were done after 1971. For better or worse. To me, the Challenger kind of lost a lot of its allure when the Hemi and the six-pack went away, but the 340 and 360 cars were very nicely balanced.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they handle. So they're good stuff. I will say this, though. If you watch, there was a TV show called Mannix in the early 1970s, and Mannix in 1971 drove a Challenger convertible. Well, for the 1972 TV production season, they facelifted the car with a 1972 grille. So Mannix drove a 72 Challenger convertible on the Mannix TV show, and it was a facelifted car, not the real thing. So that car set 1,000 incorrect ships sailing with people saying, no, I saw it on TV, they made them. Well, not so fast. So, the devil's in the details. Okay, let's now go to fact number 800, and this is the final fact in this particular episode, and also the final fact in the Dodge chapter. We'll move on to the Chrysler chapter for the next show, which will be show number 57. So here it is, fact 800, the final one for this episode, which is show 56. Here we go. Don't look for a VIN tag on the dash of any 2009 through 2012 Challenger drag pack. Though the windshield glass lower blackout border is relieved for a VIN, drag packs use standard Challenger windshields, there's no VIN tag attached to the dash panel. Rather, each of these cars sports a plain aluminum tag affixed to the passenger side spring tower with 2 rivets under the hood. Each laser-etched tag reads, quote, LC22 Drag Program, manufactured at Brampton Assembly Plant, Canada, end quote. The bottom line reads, quote, Mopar, end quote, and is followed by an identification number providing info on model year and the sequence number of each particular drag pack unit. The first prototype is marked 2008001, and the first production unit, furnished to Big Daddy Darn Garlits, bears ID number 2009001. In the 6 years since the drag pack concept was first unveiled at the 2006 SEMA show in Las Vegas, roughly 200 drag pack Challengers have been built. The SEMA concept car, with its hefty fiberglass body shell, underwent several suspension and graphics updates before being provided to Sean Carlson for conversion into a drift car. Its current whereabouts are unknown. The most rare production drag pack to date is the 2009 360 V8 5.9 liter, of which only 3 were made. Now this fact right here reveals the fact this book was printed and written in 2013, and in the 8-9 years since then, the drag pack Challenger program has grown from strength to strength.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see it from all the big 3 to offer cars like that. It's super cool.
That's right. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing about the drag pack and the Cobra Jet Mustangs and the Copo Camaros.
Yeah, we got a couple Copo Camaros. They're cool cars.
Yeah, right on. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Steve Maggs Muscle Car Show podcast, and you can see us certainly on, or hear us certainly on podcast, Google Play, all the various things. And also you can see us finally on YouTube, the
Absolutely.
channel. So right on. So and keep in mind too that this show is brought to you by High Octane Classics, New England's leading supplier and dealer of muscle cars, special interest cars, and High Octane Classics also services special interest cars and muscle cars. So give them a call at 508-859-4515. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.